Now, I'm no mathematician, but I'm pretty sure that this plus this equals fire. No, wait, not fire. Welcome back to the... Where are we? Welcome back to the Skill Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking a first look at the new Spektrum DX5Pro and Spektrum Smart Firma Brushless Sensored ESC motor combo. This is new. So is this. It looks the same as the old DX5 Pro, but they've added some stuff to it. And today's conversation is mostly going to center around the smart ecosystem that Spektrum has developed, from batteries to radios to ESCs to programming cards to motors, all of that stuff. The real benefit to smart technology is that it's all kind of all-encompassing, and it's all starting to work together. And there is telemetry and a lot of shared data between the battery and the transmitter and the ESC and the motors even, in fact. All of that information can all be seen and displayed and used and manipulated in really exciting new ways. So let's get right into it. This is the Spektrum DX5 Pro. A very fancy radio and certainly an upgrade over the DX5C or DX5C Rugged. It shares a lot of its DNA with those transmitters. This is just a little more full functioned. There's a lot more going on in this radio, a lot more programming options. There's a lot more telemetry and smart features built into this radio. The biggest change that I noticed right away, obviously, of course, is this drop-down style wheel. There are options included in the box to change the angle at which that wheel is being used. You can even get rid of the whole drop down and move it right back up to the top if you like. You can even rotate it around for whatever position feels best in your hand. As you can see, I can still drive this one-handed without any sort of additional tab on the side. So that's a really great feature in and of itself. And I just did some subtle adjustment here to kind of tilt it more towards my thumb. I think, though, that, as I'm getting used to it and playing with it more, I think I'm probably going to try just the straight direct wheel as well and see if that works any better for me. It is a pretty feature-rich radio. One of the coolest features, though, is that it is backlit now. So you can see things a lot better in lower light situations or even higher light situations. Having a backlit LCD screen is going to be extremely helpful. It's not a full color screen. That's fine. It doesn't need to be. It's just a radio, right? It's not like I'm looking at GIFs on here. Although that would be a pretty cool feature. 5-channel radio, also the kind of very cool light up Spektrum logo on there. Obviously that's just for looks. It doesn't do anything for you. Has a vibrating feature in there. So that's handy. I don't know what you would need that for. Maybe if you don't like the tones. I turn the tones off pretty much all the time. The one great feature about this radio that I really like, they went back to the dial, which is amazing. I hated that touchscreen on the Rugged. I never got used to it. I always felt like the dial was a lot more intuitive, much easier to navigate through menus. The built-in click is really easy to use. Fantastic. Another great feature. Give me 1 second here, and I'm going to open up the bottom here so you can see what I've got going on in there. The DX5 Pro is already set up to use a rechargeable battery pack, and this is the 7.4 volt lithium ion pack that they suggest you use. It has the right connector for this whole thing. Sits in there perfectly, and honestly is probably going to last a lot longer than any AA batteries ever would. You, of course, can use AA batteries, but with the backlit screen and everything, I probably wouldn't recommend it. It has a setup in the menu to let it know when you're using a lithium-ion pack so it can adjust its cutoff. It's really fantastic, and it's a great way to save yourself a few bucks in the long run. There are a lot of adjustments, a lot of trims, a lot of additional buttons. They give you A, B, C, D, E, F, G-H for buttons. The buttons are everywhere. They've got them underneath here with your thumb. They've got them on the reverse for your index finger. They're everywhere. It's really amazing, and they can be programmed to be used for any function that you might want to set it up for, whether it be a winch, turning lights on, whatever tickles your fancy. Oh, there's also this really great adjustment knob right here, which is super handy. I'm using that right now on my Kyosho Blizzard for the plow to go up and down. That way I can adjust it infinitely. If I want it up a lot, if I want it down a little, lots of room for adjustment. Really great. There's also a 3-position switch there as well. That's I. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So you've got a lot of different options for setting up these switches, and they can all be used as incremental, momentary, all kinds of really great stuff. One other really great function that I didn't mention yet is that this radio has an SD card slot, and that card slot can be used for saving, exporting, and importing other models. So say, for example, you have another radio that you want to upgrade to in the future. You can offload all of the models that you've saved on here onto that SD card and send it to another radio in the Spektrum universe, of course. As it is a more full-function radio, the Spektrum DX5Pro does offer some better mixing capabilities that were previously not offered on the DX5C or DX5C Rugged. They really are going for a much more high-level prosumer, if you will, on this radio, and offering that sort of mixing capability really opens things up a lot. In fact, one of the things I always wanted to do was get rid of the old stick radio on the Kyosho Blizzard. The DX5Pro offers really excellent mixing capabilities, so you can actually do that. It makes it so much easier to use a Blizzard, you have no idea. So that mixing capability, while it's a small feature for some, was a big selling feature for me. It might be a small thing, but the manual is fantastic. It really gives you an excellent idea of how to use all of these new features. There are so many more options to this radio, and they actually do a really decent job of covering it. On my older Futaba 3PMX, I was only allowed to have 10 models. If the amount of models is something you're concerned about, the DX5 Pro offers 250 slots for models. That's a lot of slots. While it isn't going to be waterproof or water resistant like the Rugged, this is probably, just for the sheer magnitude of additional features, and one that I haven't talked about yet, but I will talk about in a moment. I think it's definitely a worthy upgrade, and something I'm pretty happy to have. Oh, one other thing, ergonomics wise, this whole assembly here, this padded section for the grip, there's 3 different widths. So if you've got smaller hands and you need a better grip on the radio, you can change this out pretty easily and have an entirely different hand feel. And probably the more interesting part of this video is the new Spektrum Firma 2100 kV Sensored Brushless Motor and ESC combo. This is a really nice piece of kit. I've already gone to the trouble of installing it in this 6x6 Cherokee. This is an SCX10II UMG 6x6 that's been hard body converted. Lots of video already on this truck. So hopefully you've been paying attention and watching all of those. I'll put a link up here so you can check out the progress on this truck. But most importantly, I've installed it in this truck, and it's a pretty great system, I gotta tell you. Actually, if I'm totally honest, it is a rebranded Hobby Wing. But there are some changes here that definitely give you an advantage over the Hobby Wing system here, and I'm going to talk about those right now. First and foremost, this is Spektrum's first censored brushless ESC and motor combo. It includes the Firma Smart 60 ESC. It's a brushless ESC, and it's got a lot of tuning potential. It can't be called FOC because Hobby Wing owns that trademark, but it does include a version of that software on this ESC, so it will allow for that sort of smooth throttle. I didn't in my limited testing because there is so much snow that I can't drive tiny trucks like this right now. In my limited testing on the bench, I didn't find it to be as reactive as it was on the Hobbywing system. So I have a feeling that it's just sort of slightly tuned differently for the Spektrum software. But the most interesting feature of this ESC is that now, if you don't have a programming card like this one, and actually this is a pretty good programming card. Not only does it allow you to program your ESC, it also functions as a battery checker. So you can plug in your smart batteries here before you even install them, and it'll tell you what the voltage is and of each cell. And it's a nice little kind of bonus feature, something I would definitely put in the tactical hip bag. If you don't have one of those programming cards and you have a DX5C and you've upgraded to the latest firmware, you can program that ESC from your radio. All of the functions are available, all the parameters are available to be changed, and it can all be done from the radio. Turn the truck on and go into the programming end of the software on the radio and program to your heart's content. Change all of those features, and it's amazing. I love that. I love not having to have a programming card out. I love not having to go through a bunch of cycling on like the button presses to get into the menus. This is so much more intuitive and definitely a good reason to get into the smart ecosphere if you're not in it already. Everything works together and it works really, really well. It's a really intuitive way of doing all the programming and makes a lot more sense than some of the old-fashioned ways. This old dog's definitely learning some new tricks, and certainly something that I find to be really, really useful. This just seems like it's all in one package and extremely smart. That's probably why they call it that. Be sure to put links down below where you can check out more information on the Spektrum smart systems, whether it be the DX5Pro or the new Firma 60 with the brushless sensored motor. 2100 kV is actually a pretty decent amount for a trail truck. It is 2S and 3S LiPo compatible. It, of course, features the IC3 connector, so you can connect your smart batteries right away, and that's how it shares the data with the battery and the transmitter. It's definitely going to be a performance upgrade over any of the brushed systems that are included in any of the RTRs that you might get from, say, Axial or Traxxas or anybody, really. Good throttle curve, good programming right out of the box for a crawler specific. Forward and reverse without delay is already programmed into it. They program it to a 60% drag brake, I believe. Of course, all of these things can be changed with the programming card or through the transmitter if you've upgraded your firmware. It's nice to have a little bit of brushless power on tap if you need it. Probably too much power for this truck, but I definitely wanted to put it into something that was the same color. I think this is a really great time for us hobbyists. So many options on the market, but this one really is pretty compelling and something I would certainly suggest you consider. So I think that's going to do it. I wish I could offer you a really great demo of this ESC and motor combo in the Cherokee, but like I said, there's 10 inches of snow on the ground, so I think that would be kind of moot. You wouldn't see much, and it wouldn't do much. So we're gonna have to wait on the actual testing of this ESC and motor combo, but I am definitely optimistic about the results. I will try to get that done soon. Hopefully we have a big melt, and then we can actually get outside and give it a good solid test. Thank you so much, Spektrum, for sending the DX5Pro and this new brushless ESC and sensored motor combo. I'm really excited by the smart technology, and I think if you give it a chance, you will find that it is a really excellent system to be a part of. Do you think you'll consider upgrading to the DX5 Pro? It's a pretty full-function radio. I'd like to hear your feedback and your comments, and of course, you know I try to answer as many of them as I can, so put them down below. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon.